Hello and welcome to Lesson 5. I hope that you are enjoying everything in the course so far, that you're feeling good about those resumes that we officially have ready for your potential employers, and that you're excited this week to learn a little bit about public speaking, how to develop your me in 30 seconds, and even some tips for interviewing well. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I want to share this quote with you because I think it really applies to us and this course. This is a quote by John Powell that reads, "Communication works for those who work at it." No matter how skilled or not skilled you feel you are with communication, there is always room for improvement, and it's not about prowess, it's about practice. The more you use these tools, the better you will become and the more confident you'll become when it comes to public speaking. So let's go ahead and look at some tips that have been helpful to me and other professionals, and hopefully they'll be helpful to you as well. It can be a little overwhelming to think about getting up in front of a bunch of people and giving a speech or a talk, but don't become overwhelmed. Just focus on the basics. Focus on your message, your audience, and your presentation. Don't let doubts and fears get in the way. Don't worry about if you'll stumble over your words or if you'll have the right thing to say or look just right. Focus on these three basics and things will go much smoother for you. Let's go ahead and look at a little more in depth these three elements. So here, let's talk about the message. A good speech or a talk is a lot like an essay, and in order for it to be effective, it needs to be very organized. I recommend starting with an outline. Map out the direction of your speech. See what things you can include as your support, and always, always, always be sure to have a clear beginning with a thesis statement of sorts, a middle with your support, and a conclusion that brings closure, and a call to action. That's basically the so what of your speech or your talk. This is the section where you tell your audience how to interact with the content you're presenting. If it's a potential employer, perhaps you want them to reach out to you with more information. If it's a talk that you're giving on Sunday, perhaps you're going to leave the congregation with a request for prayers or for them to try something in their lives to better their circumstances. There's always something that you can ask of your audience to help them know how to interact with what you're sharing. Now, just like a good paper, you're going to need a hook. This could be an interesting fact, a brief story, a quote, a statistic, anything that will help capture the attention of your audience and lead them into your thesis and the rest of your message. Finally, you need to stay focused. Everything that you write or speak needs to tie back to that thesis and your purpose for giving the speech. At the very end, as we talked about, you need to provide that so what so the audience knows how to interact with your content. But if you do those things, your speech will be well structured and better received by your audience. And speaking of the audience, let's talk a little bit about them. You're not giving a speech for your benefit. You're doing it for your audience, and you want to always keep them in mind as you craft a message that they will understand, accept, and identify with. This means shaping your language to fit their needs. Consider their age. If you're speaking to youth, you'll use different language than to adults. If you're speaking to children, even different. Consider the demographics, consider their professional backgrounds. All of these elements determine how you're going to speak, the type of word choice you will use, and even the tone of your voice sometimes. As you know, we speak often a little bit differently to our children than we do to our spouse or to our parents. So there's a little bit of shaping that you need to do with your language there in order for your message to really be received. You also need to consider the examples and the support that you are including and need to make sure that they will be received well by your audience. For example, you would use very different examples from your life in a church talk than you would in a job interview. I'm sure you can see how there's a level of appropriateness for the professional world and for our religious world, and just these different groups and audiences. There's a special way to talk to each one effectively. So always consider your audience and let that audience help shape your message. Finally, let's talk about the presentation. Your presentation says almost as much as your speech does, so be sure that it's always saying the right thing. You want to have good eye contact. In some settings, it's okay to use notes. I wouldn't really recommend it in a job interview, but in a talk, it would be okay. So sometimes it's all right to use your notes, but you want to make sure that you're always making regular eye contact with your audience. So if you are using notes, make sure you're looking up every sentence or two. Just try to have that personal touch. As you do that, consider your posture. Good posture helps you appear more confident and professional. So even if you are nervous as can be, don't hunch, don't slump. Make sure you're using good posture and you'll feel better, look better, and perform better. Now, your attire is a little bit tricky and largely determined by your audience and the setting. For instance, you would dress differently for a job interview at a school than you would for a job interview with a law firm. If you ever are in doubt or you're not sure what to do, consider what the professionals in your industry are wearing and then choose something similar. Do your best to look the part. You want to look as though they've already hired you and you're showing up for work. Now, finally, smile. You'll likely be a little nervous, and that's completely normal, but don't forget your smile. It will help you connect with people better, it will add a personal touch, and make you more personable. Finally, I'd like to leave you with a spiritual thought. We've been focusing a lot on how to make your message perfect for an imperfect audience, but what do you do when you're speaking to a perfect one? Heavenly Father doesn't care if you outline your prayers. He doesn't need you to have the perfect word choice. He just needs you to come to him with an open heart. So forget everything that we've learned about communication, and when you're saying your prayers, make sure that you're earnestly connecting with your Heavenly Father. He cares more about your heart and your feelings and your dedication to him than he does your word choice, your punctuation, your organization. I promise he won't care if you stumble over your words, so no matter how hard it is at times in your life to go to your knees and to find the words, I promise that if you try, his Spirit will be there. And Sherry Dew also leaves us with this spiritual thought and message and promise as well. If we want to communicate with heaven and receive answers to our questions, I testify the Lord that the heavens will open and we can learn. I love this quote. It's such a powerful promise, and I love knowing that no matter how imperfect my words are, my Heavenly Father understands my heart, and if I go to him, if I speak to him, he knows better than I can say what I'm feeling. And I know that the same is true for you. So I hope you'll keep that in mind. I hope you will learn and internalize from our lessons this week and enjoy the journey. If you have any questions, as always, please let me know. But otherwise, good luck, and I look forward to seeing all you'll accomplish.